Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Reviewing Comics with me, your host, Alexander Turbin. Today we're going to be going over Planet of the Apes from 1991 from Adventure Comics. But before we get into that, I'd like to show you some of my own work. This is Random Access. It's a full-size, full-color, mostly full color. I'm switching back and forth. This month isn't going to be full color because it's December, it's Christmas, and there's a whole bunch of crazy stuff going on. But it's usually full color, and it has backup stories by Chris Knox and Paul Courtjohn for the most part, but it also has other backups. You can check these out at patreon.com/Alexander Turbin, or you can go to my website, alexanderturbin.com, and that also has Mutandus and Forlorn and all kinds of other stuff. Or you can just message me at alexturbin0441 at Yahoo. .com, which is my email. If you do that, then message me on Instagram or here or something, because it often goes to my spam and I sometimes don't see it. Or just message me at alexturbin0441 at Instagram. So now that we've done all of our shameless plugging, let's get into Planet of the Apes. So I have a love for Planet of the Apes, as does I think most people my age, simply because it's kind of an age specific thing. I don't think people really love the new Planet of the Apes. I know they're good movies. I haven't watched all of them. Like, I think I missed the last three. I watched the first one, the one with Marky Mark, which nobody liked, and I didn't really like it either. And then I saw the reboot and I enjoyed it, and all of the other ones, like I said, I haven't seen the last couple, two or three, or War of the Planet of the Apes or whatever. It just doesn't have that magical quality that the first Planet of the Apes had. I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe it's because after the first five movies, I think it loses its luster because it's not a surprise, or nothing is a surprise. Maybe there's surprises in the movies that I haven't seen, but I kind of don't think so. So yeah, like the big surprise, obviously, in the first one is that the Planet of the Apes is actually Earth, having gone through a nuclear war or whatever, and now it's populated and dominated by the ape people, and it's just that huge reveal. Personally, I started watching Planet of the Apes with the second movie, and I was like maybe 8 or 9 or something like that when I first saw it, and it scared the hell out of me. At the very end, as most of you know, I hope I'm not spoiling a movie from 1971 or 72 or whatever it came out. But at the end, the two main characters are in a prison cell, and they're watching kind of as there's like a mutant city, and then there's an ape city, and they're like having a war or something like that. And then the mutants launch a nuclear missile, which it destroys the Earth or whatever. I'm not sure if it destroys the Earth or what, but it actually is the reason for the first Planet of the Apes. So then it continues on and on. As it progresses, they get worse and worse. I mean, the first one is obviously the best, and then, like I said, they progressively get worse. But simply the fact that it ends with a nuclear explosion and the planet being destroyed, that's just a bummer when you're an 8-year-old and you're trying to figure out life. And then they were also fighting in the cage, and that was scary. So basically, the whole thing is scary. Really, Planet of the Apes is a terrifying film series. But let's get into Planet of the Apes, the TV show. I do like the TV show. I did really enjoy that too. But Planet of the Apes comic book, the first ever ape wedding bells. So I haven't read any of the Adventure Planet of the Apes. I haven't read any Planet of the Apes comics, so I really don't have a whole lot of history with the comics of the Planet of the Apes. I really enjoy the old ones. I mean, maybe it's because Charlton Heston. I love Charlton Heston, even though I'm at odds with his politics. I love him as an actor, and it's just really he pretty much made the movie. And I mean, just the whole not backstory, but the whole feeling of the Planet of the Apes, where it they all end badly, and they're a lot like zombie movies where they all end badly, and they all have these meanings, these hidden meanings or not so hidden meanings of um, kind of we need to protect the planet and animals, animal rights, and all of this kind of stuff. So there's a lot of different things going on in the Planet of a lot of metaphors, a lot of similes, a lot of stuff like that going on in Planet of the Apes. It's not just monsters take over the world after a nuclear war. It's about the humanity. It's about what happens to humanity. It's about what the animals turn into, and it's just a whole bunch of different stuff. I mean, in the movie, I can't remember if it's in the movie or in the TV show where I think it is the movie where they're having a court session, and the apes, there's three judges, and one covers his eyes, one covers his ears, and one covers his mouth, where it's hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. So there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in Planet of the Apes that isn't just like monsters taking over the earth after a nuclear war or whatever. So the creators are Charles Marshall is the writer, MC Wyman is the penciler, Terry Pallot is the finished art, and Mark Moore is the letterer. I don't know who these guys are. I was going to look them up. I forgot to, and before I started doing the video, and I don't know how much is this worth. I can't imagine it's worth very much. I got it from the dollar bin, and it's really good quality. No spine ticks or very few spine ticks or whatever. So you could probably get these at any dollar bin or whatever, or very cheaply. I would imagine. So it starts. It's the wedding. Obviously, it's a wedding of two characters. I don't know any of these characters. I don't know if these are characters from the movies or from the TV shows, or if they're just continuing new characters from the comic books. Like I said, I haven't read any of the. This is issue 12, so I haven't read the first 11 issues, so I don't really know what's going on. But it's just they're just kind of having a little bit of a backstory, and today there is a renewed sense of spirit in the village. They call Ape City. There has been a rebirth and a reunion here, and now there shall be a ringing. So it's going to be a wedding, and it's the leader of Ape City, and he's got his wife. They've gone through these, or not his wife yet. They've gone through these trials and tribulations that is really kind of not really super explained in here. It's more of this is going to be a celebration because there were things that were going on. He was captured. There were bad guys. There was attacks on the city, stuff like that. One of the main things that I'm going to say right away is that, and why I never really got an Planet of the Apes comic, never got any kind of Planet of the Apes anything, is that without the humans and without the metaphors of the destruction of humanity and stuff like that, it really leaves me flat. I remember there's this one episode where the two main characters in the TV show, they end up in a subway system down in New York City or somewhere like that, and they're being chased by the apes. And the apes, I guess, have never really felt like that the humans dominated society or human or Earth or whatever. And the gorilla that's chasing these guys sees this poster of humans, and I'm pretty sure, excuse me, and I'm pretty sure it's like a circus act, and there's like an ape being paraded around or something. He takes the poster and he puts it in wherever, his glove or whatever, for later to show other people or something. And you can kind of see on his face or whatever that he's very disturbed by this poster. And this is, back when I was like a preteen or whatever, 11 or 12. And because I would watch him on the Great Money movie every day, they would have like Planet of the Apes TV series, Buck Rogers, or, all of these different weird Planet of the Little People, all of this stuff where they would either have one movie that they would break up into a few days, or they would have series is going on. That it was just really fantastic for me to watch that every day. Anyway, That like I said, that it leaves me a little cold when I think about Planet of the Apes comic book, and there's really no humans. There are humans later on, but it's not, they're not the main characters. The main characters are the apes, and that leaves me a little cold. So that is already kind of slanting the way I look at this comic, which really shouldn't, because it should be based on the art and the writing and stuff like that, the merits of the comic, and not my own previous biases. Although everybody has biases, and when you're reading a comic book, sometimes you're in a really good space and you love that comic book, even though it's really not as great as you think it is. But because maybe your girlfriend just left you, and you pull out a romantic comic book, not so much a romantic comic book, but like something special that kind of speaks to you in that situation, kind of like love songs when you break up or whatever. That comics can be so much like that. Just reading a comic can make you feel better, or make you think of different things in your life or whatever like that. So your headspace really does affect a lot of whether or not you like a comic book or how much you like it. So anyway, the ringing is going on, and there's going to be a wedding, and they're just kind of all celebrating, and they're talking about Ape City, and they're all enjoying each other. Like I said, like always, I'm going to go through the story, and then I'll backtrack and talk about the writing and the art. But already I can see I love this art. This is fantastic. I don't know why I didn't pick this up and automatically think I love it, because I think I just picked it up and I was like, oh, that's a film, comic adaptation of the Planet of the Apes. I'll check that out and do a review on it. But actually, after reading it and going through it, I am intensely appreciative of this artist, and I don't know if it's the inking or the pencil or what, but this is fantastic, fan friggin' tastic art. There's the line work is so in depth and everything. But let's get back to that. So they're talking about Alexander. Our Alexander's talking to the spiritual leader of the city, and there's her name is Kula. I think is Kula, or let's see. It's here in the beginning. It's Alexander, and I want to say Kula. Yeah, Alexander, and I'll see it somewhere. It's not really. I mean, it is important if you're really into this comic book. But from my perspective, the two main characters, it's just too much characters and stuff for me to jump in and be like, hey, I really have to read this. And I love these new characters or whatever. But I'm pretty sure it's her name is Kula. And it's Jacob is the elder, and he's going to marry them, and they're just having such a great time. And then uh, but then the elder is kind of talking, and behind him is another character. There's a lot of these characters. Like I said, I don't know who they are. They don't really explain who they are. They just kind of go along and continue the story. And he's obviously somebody who is Dunzel, who is a good friend of Alexander, and um, I just cannot remember her name. So uh, then I guess this little kid helped Alexander when he was off in the woods, or off, and he was kidnapped or whatever. This little kid rescued him. So they're saying how he will always have a place in Ape City. No matter where he goes, he can always come here and have a home here, and they will take care of him, or be whatever. But then somebody comes from behind, and it is the gorilla, who is a warlord, and he wants to come and destroy Ape City. I don't know if this is the bad gorilla in the original Planet of the Apes books. I mean, the Planet of the Apes movies. I don't think it is. I think it's different. It is General Olo. Olo is his name. But he's come back, and he's apparently, there's a lot of bad blood between him and Alexander and his girlfriend, wife to be. but they want him gone. But he's promised that nothing bad is going to happen. He's not going to try to start a war for now. And then it just kind of switches gears. It like has this main plot and then switches gears to this young ape, and he's doing menial work for this shopkeeper or whatever, and they're just kind of having discussions how they want to go to the ringing, and which is the wedding of Alexander and Kua, or I can't remember her name it. And then there's another character who is apparently some kind of warlord or something, and he's arm wrestling with these two young guys, and he's saying that people think that he's lost his edge and lost his might and stuff, and so they're kind of just talking about stuff like that, and the young guy is saying he chops wood, and the shopkeeper keeps him in food and lodging. So the warlord smashes down their arms, and the table breaks apart into a million pieces, and he's like, "Here you go. This should cover my tab since I cut some firewood for you," being a kind of a jerk. And then Ula comes in. No, this is another scene. So that breaks up into a bunch of different scenes. Ulo comes into some sort of scientist, and they have some sort of backstory. It's really too bad that they don't have a little bit of a blurb saying Ula or how they know each other, how they've interacted in the past, and stuff like that. Same with this bar scene. I kind of wish that they had. It does say across town at a small business establishment, but I'm assuming that these characters have been in the previous issues and stuff like that, so that a little bit of an introduction would have been nice. It's not super necessary because I don't get completely lost. I know that they're just side characters and they don't really have a lot to do with the main storyline. They're not driving the main story, but they're just kind of there in the background. So it's really just broken down into different segments and different plot lines of what's going on. Ula is talking about this to the scientist, and apparently the scientist does experiments on humans. I don't think these are anybody from the past or the future or whatever, where space astronauts or whatever, like Charlton Heston or whatever. I think these are just humans that, as you know, in the original Planet of the Apes, the humans couldn't talk. I don't know why, but they couldn't talk. Some sort of disease or whatever. I think, excuse me, they explain it in the other movies. But he's going to put this human down. I guess he's done all of the experiments that he can. It would have been cool to see some blood on the floor, but that would have been probably a little bit too much. And then Ula snaps his neck. So really, for him, for the scientist, he's used up his need for the human, and then Ula is just like doesn't even think anything about snapping the neck of the human. So then they just keep talking about what's been going on a little bit. They really don't talk about what's happened previously in the last 12 issues or 11 issues. They don't go into the storyline or any kind of backstory or any of the events that have happened, which is kind of unfortunate. But they do talk about a little bit about how he has enemies and they're all around and everything. Cut to another scene. I don't know if all of these characters are in previous issues. I would hope so, and that they're not just, one-off characters. Here are some guardsmen, and apparently they're friends of somebody, or maybe not. Maybe they're just regular dudes, and they're just kind of trying to show what Ape City is like, all around, whether it's the scientists or the bartenders or the guards. And one of them is going to give a cask of wine to Alexander and his girlfriend. And the other one is like, how'd you get it? And they go through this. I traded it for this. I traded it for that. I traded it for this. I traded it for that. And then at the end, he says, I traded it for your bed. In my bed? And so they have this like kind of ruckus, and they have a little fight. And it just adds a little bit of levity and humor to it. And it's a comical little scene, and it doesn't really interrupt the whole thread of everything. And So then they go to the ringing and they have the ceremony and they're all, loving life and they're all happy and everything. And then it does show all of the characters that have been, that they've shown previously, and how they're kind of viewing the ceremony and what they are like. One of them's yawning, and these guys are really into it. And this one's head is still banged up from their previous fight, and Olo is just not impressed at all. Um, then it cuts to a scene that I don't understand at all. I really wish that they had some sort of back dialogue or something to show who this was. This ape is going through the mountains, I guess, and he comes across a human, and they embrace, so they're friends or something. The human says that he's leaving. Too much stuff has gone on in Ape City, and they won't accept him. And the ape is like, "I can't go with you." And the human's like, "Well then, I'll cause enough trouble. Don't." He says, "Stay out of trouble. I'll cause enough trouble for the both of us." So he takes off, and then the ringing ends because they have these bells and they ring. They're married. They're wed, and they're just all happy, and it's just showing on their faces and stuff. Then afterwards, I guess the new bride has a kid and a baby, and I don't know, he's gone. That's why these two panels here are empty, because it's showing that Ula, the general, has left the ringing, and he's gone, and he's taken the baby of the new bride, and she rushes back to her house, and she's enraged, and she wants to, get everybody together to find them. And then there's a knock on the door or something. Or no, then she finds the baby. There's a note from Ula saying that I have come here, and I have come in peace, and I've left in peace, but I just wanted to remind you that any minute I could take something from you, whether it's your spouse or your baby or your friends. And someday I am going to come back to Ape City, and I'm going to come back as a conqueror and conquer you all. So that's basically how it ends. There's a countdown to, I don't know where countdown one was, but maybe this was supposed to be countdown one. That could have possibly have been it. This could have been countdown one, but they didn't put it in. And this is countdown two, which is, I assume, an epilogue or a prologue for the next series, the next story. These must be the astronauts. These might be the Charlton Hestons of the comic book, and they're in St. Louis. They've swam however long. They're in a raft, and they've made it to St. Louis. So that is pretty much how it ends. And there's some advertisements and stuff like that, because it's an adventure comic, which is part of the Malibu line, which is part of the Eternity and Adventure and Aircell and all that stuff. So the writing is really pretty good. Like I said, I wish there had been more humans. But I really do like all the characters. They all have really good voices. They all have their own ways about them. It's there's not as many humans as I'd like in it, but the apes, they are certainly different, and they each have their own different characters, and they have their goods and their bads and stuff. And I mean, it's a pretty standard marriage comic, I guess. Kind of like Marriage of Reed and Sue, or Marriage of Scott and Madeline Pryor, stuff like that. Not a whole lot happens, though. It just shows a lot of different characterization and a little bit of backstory, and I enjoy that. I'm glad about that. I'm glad that there wasn't an attack on Ape City by somebody. That would have been a little bit too contrived and too done over. But for the most part, I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the plot. I enjoyed the characters, and I really did. I did like it quite a bit. Apparently, this is a new art team, a new writing and an art team. So Yeah, Charles Marshall is the new writer, and W.C. Wyman is the new penciler. So they are apparently are. This is where they change gears, as most new creative teams they do. They kind of tie up things in a previous storyline or whatever, and they move on to their next storyline, which is what they really want to do. But the art team of what MC Wyman and Terry Pallett is awesome. It is amazing. The line work and depth of all of these characters is truly amazing, and these guys are fantastic artists. I'm definitely going to look up some of the stuff that they've done after this because I don't know if it's the penciling or the inker or a combination of both. But look at this intricate line work. Oh my, there's so much intricate line work, and it's a variation of lines and the plot and the layout and the just this the whole thing art wise is fantastic. It's really fantastic. It's something that you really have to kind of like, you can't just take a quick glance at it. It's something that you have to really look at the line work, and it's really super fantastic. It's super intricate, and every line has its place. It's not like them just like throwing a lot of detail on here, a lot of line work, and it doesn't mean anything. Everything has its specific place and specific time. They do have duo shade or duotone. I can never remember which is which is the chemical that you apply with a brush. I think that's the dual shade. But if anybody knows differently, let me know. There is a lot of dual shade and duotone. I don't know. Let me know. Do you guys think that that's cheating? Is that the same as I don't know. Do you think duotone and dual shade is cheating, or it's just another tool in your box? Because you can certainly overdo it or underdo it, and if you don't utilize it, then it in the appropriate way, then it's really gonna not make your art any better. But like most of this, they use it in a perfectly exact way. Like they've got this background duo shade going on, which really helps to enhance the characters here. They realize that it's black and white, so they don't have the color to have contrast and between the characters and the background and stuff, or it's some shadows and shading. It's so they've got this really fantastic intricate line work here in the leg, but then they've got this duo shade showing the shadows underneath the characters. So that's really, really, really fantastic. I am going to definitely look up these guys, MC Wyman, and see if I can find some more stuff by them, because these guys are awesome. I don't know how many more issues Planet of the Apes went. I think it went maybe into its 20s or 30s. So it did go a little bit, I'm pretty sure. I'm going to have to look this up. If anybody's a big fan of this comic book, please let me know some of the intricacies about what happened either before this and who the art team is, and if how long these guys lasted on the book, because these guys are really fantastic. I love the narrative art. Not once did I have to go back and reread anything. Everything just moves smoothly and seamlessly. There's a lot of differential. There's big close-ups. There's nice backdrops. There's lots of different movement. Like there's a good bird's eye view, and they have worm's eye views and stuff like this. This is probably the weakest panel, simply because it doesn't work for me like this. I think I would have liked this a little bit closer, just for some reason. I don't know. But the layouts, the characters, everything is really fantastic, and I just really can't say enough about this artwork. It looks a little bit like Michael Zulli, only tighter. It's a tighter Michael Zulli slash Bernie Wrightson. The ink work and the line work really reminds me of Bernie Wrightson and Michael Zulli, because it's just so tight, and it's really fantastic. I really can't sing high enough praises for the artwork, and the story is pretty good too. So yeah, if I see more Planet of the Apes, I'm going to get it. Get them in the dollar bin. I'm not going to go spend $5 or $6 or $10 on a comic of Planet of the Apes, simply because I don't love the genre that much. But I really like the story, and I really love the art. The art is really fantastic. I wonder if there's a color compilation of these in some sort of trade paperback or something. I'll have to look that up as well. But I'm going to give this an 8.5. That's I kind of was thinking before I started filming that I was going to give it maybe an 8, 7.5, an 8 because I didn't really love it. But I mean, you just look at this artwork, this line work, and it's just something to fall in love with, and it really carries the book. This reminds me a little bit of Arthur Adams inking. This whole page actually reminds me of Arthur Adams and or Barry Windsor Smith. So I mean, look at this beautiful line work. It's so alive. It's really, that's the thing. It's alive. It's not stale. It's not too tight. It's not rigid at all. It's got this living quality that you really need to have in your artwork to really make it pop out the best, I think. Anyway, Planet of the Apes number 12. I really enjoyed it. I'm giving it an 8.5. The only reason I'm not giving it more is because it is Planet of the Apes, and even though I do have a fondness and a connection to Planet of the Apes, it's still not one of the biggest franchises that I really love. So if you guys like this kind of content, you like seeing indie comics being reviewed and looked over, let me know, and please, if you're a new viewer, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell and all of that fun stuff, and a thumbs up. But more importantly than that, I love comments. I love hearing you guys' history with these comic books, and what you love about them, what you hate about them, just what you feel about the art and the story. And if you have a whole collection of Planet of the Apes, that's awesome too. So thanks for watching, and hope you enjoyed the show, and I will see you next time. And keep on creating.